We're constantly told that we need to change what we put in our fuel tanks, that gasoline is a fuel of the past. While there are several alternatives on the market, not all fuels are created equal. Here now to help us examine the financial and environmental costs behind alternative energies, Stephanie Thorson. She's president at Viking Strategies, an energy and environment consultancy. John Dwyer, the CEO of Flax Energy. And Ken Field. He's the founder and chairman of Greenfield Ethanol. And it's good to have you three here for a little discussion in the agenda tonight. Obviously, there are many more alternative fuels than just those represented by you three, but we thought let's get you three in here and get the conversation started. Starting with you. Ken, what is ethanol?
Ethanol is made from any biomass product. And we know that there's alcohol in almost every product because if you dry leaves, grass, corn, trees, sawdust, and you light a match to it, it's going to burn. All right, so there's alcohol in all those products. So we take the biomass, and right now we use corn, and we distill it and make ethanol, and it's a fuel for automobiles.
And why have you decided to devote your life to producing this particular kind of alternative energy?
I'm so happy you asked that question because I'm really passionate about it. I believe that we're going to have to move off fossil fuels. Not quickly. I'm a Canadian, okay, and I know that the oil sands and producing oil is important for our country to pay for our standard of living. But there are issues that we have to deal with. And one of them is energy security. Another is greenhouse gases and climate change. Another is pollution control. And therefore, I have children and I have grandchildren, and I think in the future it's important that we have alternate fuels, and especially in the transportation sector.
Alternate fuel number two. John, what's flax?
Flax is a staple crop. It was first used by the Egyptians. It mummified mummies. It made houses. Flax oil makes linoleum flooring, makes linseed-based paints. The Latin term for flax is linseed. But more, I suppose, importantly to this conversation is one of the items that we derive from the flaxseed is biodiesel. And biodiesel is a fuel that goes in any diesel engine without any modification whatsoever, has the same power rating, but it offers upwards of a 95% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. So when making biodiesel, you've got to take a lipid, a fat. So you can use flaxseed oil or hemp oil or canola oil, soy oil. The most predominant feedstock, as we call it, is wasted vegetable oil, which is the oil from your Wendy's, your Harvey's, the oil that we deep fat fry our food in, and then we clean it up, we turn it into fuel. We use flax.
And why have you decided to spend so much of your life pursuing this avenue?
I suppose my answer is not dissimilar to what Ken said. I see a huge requirement for our transition away from oil. I had a talk recently and I said to somebody, my family were Newfoundlanders and the cod ran out on us and it devastated Newfoundland. And so I love my community and I see oil as our new cod. So we need to come up with different solutions and different answers, and I hope that flax plays some sort of part in that.
Stephanie, what's biogas?
Biogas is a renewable fuel that comes from decaying organic material. So that material can be manure and sewage, so I'll stick to the polite terms. Crops, waste from the green bin, and when it decomposes, it lets off gas. So that gas just usually vents to the atmosphere. And so that could be in the farm barn, it could be in the compost bin, the landfill, the sewage treatment plant. But biogas actually captures the gas, which is methane, very intensive capture of heat in the atmosphere, so very potent greenhouse gas, captures the methane and diverts it either to an engine to generate electricity, or in the case of our discussion today, it is natural gas. So it can be cleaned and compressed and either put into a vehicle directly or injected into the natural gas pipeline and used as a vehicle fuel anywhere that the pipeline reaches. Now, as a vehicle fuel, it is for natural gas vehicles.
And same follow-up question as to the other guys. Why have you decided to spend so much of your time on this particular avenue?
Yeah, well, biogas makes a lot of sense to me, so that's why I chose to pursue it. It's new to Ontario, but it's very common in Europe and other parts of the world. And what it's doing is capturing waste and making smart use of waste. So it is a way to be smarter about fuel, and rather than letting those gases just escape to the atmosphere, we're actually putting them to good use. And it also has other environmental benefits, like to the water quality, because the pathogens in manure are killed off in the biogas process, so you don't have a Walkerton type situation. And right now, all the gas that is captured is just flared. Ashbridge's Bay Sewage Treatment Plant, for example, the gas there is enough to power 9,000 homes, but they just flare the gas.
Flare meaning they just burn it off?
They just burn it off. So.
Okay. That's the plus side of what you're all talking about. I want to talk also about what some of the critics are having to say about what you have to say, and I'll come to you first, Ken, on this. This is from Oxfam from just a few months ago. Oxfam writes, they warn that Europe's growing appetite for biofuels is pushing up global food prices and driving people off their land, resulting in deeper hunger and malnutrition in poor countries. So I want to find out, can using farm crops raise the cost of food that people, particularly in poorer countries, need to eat?
Excellent question. And I have great admiration for Oxfam because I think they do great work. On the other hand, often what you see depends on where you sit. And Oxfam is in the business of hunger. And I mean, I've done an awful lot of research on this because I don't want to be in a business or devote my life to something that's going to starve people or is going to raise people's food prices. So it's very important that we understand this. And I'm only talking about ethanol, so I don't have the other fuels to discuss. But it's an very interesting question. Right now we make our ethanol from corn. It's not the corn that people eat. Okay, it's either industrial corn or animal corn. It's known as a number 2 corn. And it's grown on farms that are huge, either hundreds of acres or thousands of acre farms, and a combine comes by and then takes the corn kernels off the corn. And what we do is only remove the carbohydrate and then return the balance of the food that's in that corn product to the animal feed market. And our industry provides 39 million tons of animal feed, which is all the protein and the fiber, the vitamins, the minerals, and the oils that's in that corn.
So in other words, if the prices are going up, it's not because of anything you're doing, you say?
I'll tell you what's so interesting. If you take the price of almost all food products, and all the grains especially, and you put it on a graph with the price of oil, they all match. So it's the price of food going up and the price of grains going up, or meat or milk or these products, is more related to the price of energy than it is to the price of anything else. However, there's another interesting fact here when people talk about the price of food increasing. If you look at last year, 2012, when there was a drought, in the United States, and therefore less corn than was expected. In Canada, because those are the only numbers I have, CPI went up 2.1%. The price of food went up 1.1%. So there really hasn't been an increase in price of food in 2012.
Ken, we had a discussion about this, and I don't largely disagree with it. But the thing that I often wonder is because we all are on the same level here. We're trying to provide a solution, which is exceptionally important. But there's generations of these solutions, and what I'm always left with is the idea that, we talked about the article in the New York Times Magazine this past Sunday about the rising price of food-based corn in Guatemala, and I wonder, do you see, and I don't mean to be asking your questions, do you see a correlation on the Chicago Commodities Index between number 2 non-sweet corn and the corn that we all eat? And we know that number 2 non-sweet, as you described, is the food that we feed to animals. It doesn't taste very good. There's no reason for us to eat it anyways.
It's such a good question, but I think you're in the commodity business, so you would know this. If you take a look at the price of corn that we eat as compared to the price of vegetables or the price of fruit or the price of meat and the other prices, and you go back 10 or 15 years, they've all gone up together. So you can't just say corn that's used for ethanol has changed the price of corn that we eat. I think you have to look at food prices. And if you take a look at lettuce, it used to be 50 cents, now it's $1.25. Okay, if you take a look at the price of carrots, and I'm not going to get the carrot prices or apple prices, okay, we do know what they are, but if you compare the prices of food and how they've gone up over the years, they all basically go up about the same.
But I'm inferring from your question that you think there is a role being played by turning ethanol.
Well, I think it's something that a lot of people are thinking. I think there's a mutual dynamic in terms of what's going on here. There's a dichotomy that happens in the industry. So we're either going to seek some sort of reality based on the fact that we know that what we are doing in our collective pursuits, whether it be corn, whether it be flax, whether it be pushing up the price of fertilizer by virtue of taking cow manure and extracting the methane. Now that's a bit far-fetched, but I always wonder how much of it is influenced by the oil companies and how much of it is reality.
How much of what is influenced by the oil companies?
The fact that we're being told that corn and a variety of other opportunities in the biofuel, biomass business.
You mean they're disinforming?
It's a question.
Could be in their interest.
I'm too small to make these. My company's too small to make these liabilities.
Let me just understand this. Are we putting out there the notion that if there's criticism of you guys, it's probably done by the big oil companies that are trying to disinform?
May I jump in here?
Sure.
That's why I'm interested in Ken's opinion on it.
I haven't seen the Canadian oil companies do it at all. But in the United States, there's an organization called API.
Which stands for?
American Petroleum Institute.
Okay.
And that institute has been one of the major proponents against the renewable fuels standard in the United States, which is the mandate, against any ethanol being put into gasoline. And therefore, part of their program is to come up with all the reasons why ethanol is no good. So you hear things like food for fuel, or there's no greenhouse gas benefit, or it takes more energy to make ethanol.
Ken,
to get out of it.
This isn't big oil, this is Oxfam that was saying it. Does that matter?
Yes, it does. It does matter, and I'll tell you why. I don't know how much money the oil industry may give to Oxfam, because there is a correlation here about finding the people who you'd like others to believe to get your message across. And it also happens in media, and you're in the media business. So, I know you're as clean as could be, and I really believe that.
I'm pretty sure we don't take money from big oil.
No, but there's others who might.
Okay, let me get to Stephanie on this. How about biogas in terms of this whole food versus fuel debate that we're having here today? Does it have a role?
Well, in Germany, the biogas industry is huge, and there are crops like corn that are grown for biogas production. However, in Ontario, we're not even there yet. We haven't even tapped into our existing waste streams, and so we don't need to have that debate. There are some farms that might throw in some corn to their digesters to boost production of biogas, but for the most part, we're just taking waste materials and extracting the energy from them. So there hasn't been a debate on the biogas side.
Ken.
Steve, can I just jump into this for a moment? About 15 years ago, the corn seed industry, developed what's called GMO products, okay? And therefore they knew, and so did government.
This is genetically modified?
Modified, that's right. Okay, and all corn, is now genetically modified corn in North America. And they knew going back 15 years ago that the amount of corn that could be produced on the same amount of land would double or even go up more. So they tried to come up with purposes for and uses for this additional corn, because it wasn't needed in the food chain. So they came up with high fructose corn syrup, big user of corn, industrial corn, sweeteners, big use, and ethanol. And if you take a look at the number of animals that there are in the United States or in North America today compared to the number that there were 10 years ago, it's about the same. So if you had a doubling of the amount of corn on the same amount of land, which is corn land, where you can't grow fruit and vegetables anyway, and you knew it was going to double, and now you have that much corn, what would you do with it if you didn't make ethanol with it?
Well, I mean, you can make canola, soybean, oat, barley,
Not true.
wheat.
This is a rotation crop, all right? And you
All
have
crops
to
are
rotate.
rotation
So
crops.
therefore you do rotate to soybean. It's the same land. You're
Right.
absolutely right. You're rotating with these different products. But what are we short of? In other words, if you took out this amount of corn out of that piece of land when it's being grown for corn purposes and getting 2 or 3 times the amount of corn, the yield that you got 10 years ago,
Right.
what else would you grow that you need? Because we don't really need, we're not short of any food. The World Bank will tell you that. 40% of almost all food grown in the world is wasted, which is horrible.
The reason I take such concern with it, and this is not to be pugilistic in any way, shape, or form, is so much of what we do, not to make this sound like a sales pitch, but so much of what we do is predicated on a lot of other firms, and you happen to operate the largest in the country, ethanol. And I know a huge component of your business in the alcohol business. It's a great risk model, and we do the same thing to a certain degree in a much, much smaller scale. But I wonder where the next step is. Is cellulosic possible? Are we going to have some sort of application for gasoline? Because people don't reach out and touch diesel in Canada. We don't feel in that.
Let me understand your
way.
concern. What is your criticism as it relates to ethanol?
We need to get away from corn. I really do believe it.
We need to get away from corn.
I think we need to get away from corn because I don't believe that the food for fuel debate is a fallacy. I really think there is something to it.
Okay, and I'm going to answer that. I believe we're moving to the cellulose ethanol model. All right, and our company, Greenfield, is one of the front runners in the development of that cellulose ethanol product. So there you take corn cobs and stover and leaves and grasses and special energy crops and trees.
But not the corn.
And not corn, and you make ethanol from that. All right, so we're doing that now at a small demonstration plant in Chatham, and there are now 6 commercial plants being built in the United States. But I'm going to answer you this way, John. There's going to be a lot of cellulose ethanol produced. There's going to be continued ethanol made from corn, probably at the same level you have now, because I'm going to say to you, there is all this corn that's coming out of the farm community, and there's nothing else to do with it other than to make ethanol. It's not required for food, and it's not that land is not required for anything else.
John and Stephanie.
Is it produced by virtue of the ethanol industry? Was there not a natural evolution in that sort of organic way in the farming industry? And I'm a farmer myself. That where certain crops come in and out of vogue by virtue of what consumers demand. And I mean, I see that myself. I hustle around Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, Ontario to try and get folks to grow flax with us. And so I just wonder if there might be an inherent fallacy in the fact that we might have a glut of corn, but I think the glut was ultimately orchestrated by the ethanol industry in its first
Stephanie,
place.
weigh in on this?
I think what you're talking about moving to cellulose is really focusing on waste again, and that's a positive development because we do waste so much in our agriculture, in our forestry, and we can take lessons from other jurisdictions and really turn that waste into usable material. And I think that's the direction we need to go, and we need to, as a society, sort of speak up against our waste, potentially change the economics, because it's always easier to dig a hole in the ground and extract energy for a very low cost, whereas these alternatives all cost more. And if we don't have a price on carbon, which is always puts us at a disadvantage, then society needs to speak up and say, we don't always want the fossil fuels. How about we have some level of incentive for the alternatives?
To that end, let me read from a letter of a couple of years ago to the European Commission, signed by more than 100 scientists and economists, who wrote the following about the kind of work that you three do. Peer-reviewed research over the last several years indicates that conventional biofuels can directly or indirectly result in substantial greenhouse gas emissions through the conversion of forests and grasslands to croplands or pasture to accommodate biofuel production. Increased demand for crops can induce farmers in other countries to plow up new ground, including sensitive, high-carbon ecosystems such as tropical forests. Which raises the question, again, Ken, start us off here, can these biofuels, which I know you're all doing to try to make the world a greener place, actually be bad for the environment?
Well, first of all, let me address that article, okay, which says that hundreds of scientists. And I tell you, I think you have to be very careful when you read articles like that to see who wrote it and what scientists said. Hundreds of scientists said
because?
It. Because it's wrong. First, it's not true. All right, it's put out there, but we have proven our industry that that is not true. Now, the biggest criticism was for land use change in places like Brazil, where they said they were cutting down the rainforest and they'd be growing corn or sugar on that land to make biofuels. Well, first of all, the rainforest land doesn't produce any corn or any sugar. You can't do that there. The reason the rainforests are being cut down, by the way, that's going down because the Brazilians are on it, but the reason was because people around the world want to use the wood. All right, it's very, very expensive wood for different purposes, for furniture and for other purposes. But after the rainforest is cut down, what they usually do is use it for grazing land for cattle. And that's a huge business in Brazil. So to say and point that it's for ethanol is just not true. And that's been proven now. So the EPA was on this, the Environmental Protection Agency was on this in the United States in a big way. And you know, they were concerned about scientists saying statements like that. And they've now come out and said it's not true.
Well, Stephanie, this is the Union of Concerned Scientists, and I wonder if I could get you to make the case that the net benefit to society of your particular type of fuel outweighs the potential adverse effects which they've listed here.
Oh, absolutely, and the net effect of biogas production is it's a renewable energy source. So whatever goes into the digesters is offsetting fossil fuel use. There can be crops that are grown particularly for biogas production, but that doesn't need to be the case. So livestock that is already being farmed for commercial purposes, all they're doing is capturing the manure. That's the primary source. You know, our human waste has to be treated. That's a source of biogas. So the food production side of it, it's more the waste food. It's food processing waste that is augmented into these systems.
So unambiguously net benefit to society in your view?
Yes.
John?
The way that we look at it is that, you know, I'm in the fortunate position, I suppose, in this delicate conversation about food and fuel, whereby we're an agri-energy company. Biodiesel is a component of what we produce. But ultimately, we look at an acre of land and we talk about what are capabilities of producing a fuel, a food, an animal feed, a paint product, and a variety of other outputs from a singular input. So, in the most basic levels, if we want to have our strong EBITDA, which every company is for, we would have 1 acre of land producing 516 liters of biodiesel and about 2,200 loaves of high omega-3 bread.
I should just interrupt you for a second, because
Please.
this is not a business program, and you just dropped EBITDA, which I think means
Earnings before interest,
taxes, depreciation,
and amortization.
Thank you. Okay, continuing, sir.
So the way that we look at the biofuels industry now is that there has to be a natural marriage of food and fuel. Now, my industry is very different from the rest of the folks that I'm lucky enough to share this panel with, but biodiesel doesn't make money on its own. Biodiesel is a one wholesale application for a much larger spectrum that relies on one single agricultural input, being in our case flax. So we think of it as like the oil model. A liter of oil makes gasoline and diesel, but also makes plastics and rubber synthetics and a huge list that mitigates the risk of actually being in business. We've replicated the same thing, but with an agricultural staple. The only difference between what we do is that you can't cook with flax oil.
But
so
you've got one product with multiple uses.
Multiple outputs.
Like oil.
Yeah.
Do you have one product with multiple uses like oil?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, we have ethanol, and then we have distillers' grains, of which we produce about 1 million tons a year from our operation. And then we have corn oil, which we also have, and there's many more products coming. All right, we make CO2 for soda pop and refrigeration. So,
but does that make his product better because he has more multiple outcomes from a single crop, unlike yours?
I don't think it's better. I like what he does. So I'm not sure anyone is better than the other. I think we need them all.
I like Ken's business model. I very much do, and I like the direction that he's going in because, you know, greenfield ethanol is the largest in the country, and I say this by virtue of the fact that you've stewarded it in that direction, and you deserve all the accolades for it. And more importantly, I believe that you guys are going to be the first ones to make ethanol the real deal. And
what does that mean?
Well, cellulosic ethanol, as Ken has talked about, and he can speak more intelligently about this than I can, is the next evolution away from corn. And I think under Ken's leadership that they're going to be able to do it. But for the time being, it's still under corn, and that's where we differ.
Okay, but let's talk performance, because one of the reasons people still put good old-fashioned gas in their cars is because they get that certain oomph. They get the performance that their car will. You know, when you hit the accelerator, you're going to have some vroom vroom. And I want to see if that's the case with all of your alternatives. Ken, is it?
Well, if you were a fan of any race cars, all right, so any NASCAR race or any Indy race, you'd know that all of those cars, every one of them in those races uses ethanol in the gasoline. And why?
What percentage?
What percent of ethanol?
Yeah.
In the gasoline? 15%.
15, okay.
Some of them have more, okay, but let's say 15% for sure is the minimum that they use. And why? Because the drivers like it. It has more octane. The octane of ethanol is 114 compared to like 82 for, you know, where gasoline starts, okay? When you buy it, it's 87, 91, or 94, but ethanol has an octane of 114, so it's more powerful.
So
and therefore they like it, plus it's cleaner. So people used to go to races and they used to complain about the smell. That smell's gone. When you put ethanol in gasoline, that smell's finished.
So why not use more than 15%?
Well, you can use up to 100% in Brazil in most engines. And you could in America too, except it depends how the engines are set up. You have to have the right computer chip, and you have to have no plastic or rubber between the gas tank and the engine.
Okay, Stephanie, how does your biofuel stack up against that?
Well, you can use straight biogas as a biogas fuel. The performance isn't as great because the CO2 is still in the biogas. It hasn't been drawn out and left with just methane. But City of Guelph has a truck that runs on straight biogas. What I think makes more sense is extracting the CO2 and using it it's a straight replacement for natural gas. So renewable natural gas or biomethane can be put in a vehicle. They're converting waste trucks, for example. You can fuel up right at the landfill. You could either put in straight biogas to a waste truck and or convert it to natural gas and have that truck closing the loop, going to collect the garbage and leaving it at the landfill.
Is this, though, this is a distribution problem at the moment, right? I mean, you've got different alternatives here, but the fact is, what, 98, 99% of people who can put something in their car are still going to good old-fashioned gas stations.
With the exception of ethanol. Ethanol is the most integrated. Biodiesel is 2% in Canada. We lobby very hard. Peter Ken, our Minister of Environment, has been a huge advocate of biodiesel, as has Stephen Harper's government. The Liberals here in Ontario have been exceptionally slow. We encourage them to work a little bit harder on taking a more specific interest on biodiesel.
What do you want them to do?
We don't want money from them. That's important. That's an important distinction. At least my company doesn't. We don't believe in subsidies. We don't believe in the feed-in tariff program. I think taxpayers' money should go to much more better suited programs than subsidizing a bunch of solar and wind companies. But more importantly,
you want to talk about that in a second? Hang on.
We can.
Hold
please.
that thought.
Feel free to butt in.
Hold that thought. But what do you need from the Ontario government?
We need recognition, and we need them to increase the mandate.
The mandate of
biodiesel. So right now, Canada burned 32.6 billion litres of diesel last year. The existing mandate calls for 2% across the country. Most of that is made up in Manitoba and British Columbia and Saskatchewan. We're seeing a greater evolution and a greater acceptance of biofuels. Dalton McGuinty did not choose to stand up to the truckers union, who vehemently said we're not going to take biodiesel in our trucks.
What's their opposition?
They feel as though it's not good for the overall operation of the truck, and we feel that is a case of a lack of information, which is not their fault.
Okay. I know you're not necessarily here representing the feed-in tariff folks or solar or wind, but you do some work in that area, don't you? Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. So he basically said he is disgusted with the entire business model that's given birth to your business. To which you say?
To which I say, we need to have a lot more green jobs in Ontario, and that the whole idea behind the renewable energy feed-in tariff was to decrease our reliance on manufacturing jobs such as automobiles that were going down and look for high quality manufacturing jobs in Ontario. So the program wasn't perfect, and I don't think anybody would say it was in its rollout.
Time to phase it out?
No, I don't think so. It's time to make some important changes to it.
But shouldn't the solar companies be big boys and big girls and go out and have a risk model that allows them to operate in the modern competition model where they can actually compete? I mean, is that not a fair assumption? I just think after 12, 10 years, however many.
If the nuclear industry had to compete on a level playing field, and Darlington nuclear power plant was supposed to cost $2 billion and it cost $17 billion, and that debt went to the taxpayer, not the electricity ratepayer. Absolutely. So none of this is even, and so we need to move beyond that model and look at other sources, other ways of characterizing various electricity sources and be fair about it.
I'm inferring from your reply that essentially the taxpayers have subsidized way more than just solar and wind. They're subsidizing nuclear. We don't have to. The oil companies, of course, get huge tax subsidies, which encourage their exploration and so on. Mm-hmm. So it seems like everybody's getting a piece of the action here. Maybe not you guys.
Well, we don't want it, but we also subsidize a couple seats in Oakville and Mississauga, but that's for an entirely different conversation.
Correct.
Which was supposed to cost us $200 million, and now it's costing us $1.1 billion.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Well, okay.
Anyway, but you're right, that's another program. But at bottom line here, we got a few minutes to go. I want to find out, you three all say that you are part of the kind of looking to the future mix of our future energy needs, but by the same token, you're sort of in competition with each other as well. So just take a minute here and tell us why your form of green energy is better than their two.
I don't know if I'd say better, because the applications are different, and I think they can all live in the same field, because we're looking at replacing natural gas vehicles with, or augmenting that with a couple percentage points, we'll say, of renewable natural gas. I think in the case of biodiesel, that's a diesel fuel replacement, and we've got a gasoline augmented fuel.
So you don't feel in competition with that?
No, in fact, the three industries should be working together to support each other.
Are you?
We're not.
Well, I see my job today is to bring you three together.
I do think we do work together. As a matter of fact, when we go to government, the Canadian Renewable Fuels Association, we have biodiesel and we have ethanol, and we do have some natural gas members as well, but maybe not the biogas, which is basically the same. But I think you have to sit back, Steve, and you have to ask yourself this question. Why are we involved at all as a society moving to encourage any of this? And I think it has to do with our transition away from fossil fuel for very good reasons. And when you look at those reasons and you weigh them against the things we talked about today, that's what you really have to balance. Not so much what we're doing, but you know, do you want to have drilling for oil in the Arctic? And I guess you know what happened with the Shell rig last week, or the Gulf oil spill, or fracking, okay? I'm not going to be a proponent of whether you should be fracking or not, because I don't know enough about it, but there's a lot of people who, you know, come up with information that says you shouldn't be fracking for natural gas, you shouldn't be fracking for oil.
Well, it's either dangerous or it's the salvation for the United States of America, one of the two.
Well, it's not salvation. I don't think it's the salvation. I think biofuels are going to be the salvation, all right, because we're in competition with that product. And we have to decide which one's better, and are you willing to pay for it? And I don't think biofuels, for you said all the environmental fuels are more expensive. That's not true. Ethanol sells for 30 cents a gallon less than gasoline.
Let me give John the last 30 seconds here.
Sure. The only difference I would that I really tend to stick to in our narrative as a company is that I don't know the capacity for biofuels to replace fossil fuels. I don't know how possible that is, but I know that it's one small step that always leads towards that national generational almost push in technologies that gets us one step closer. You know, all of ours work under the same compass. We're all moving in the same direction, but our capability of replacing fossil fuels is a very difficult task. But that being said, it's all moving in the right direction, and to constitute it as competition between the three of us is a bit of a misnomer. They're mutually exclusive.
Okay, and I thank the three of you for coming in tonight and having the debate here at TVO. Stephanie Thorson from Viking Strategies, John Dwyer from Flax Energy, and Ken Field from Greenfield Ethanol. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.